Do it again. Good morning, everybody. It's Monday. Hello, Ivan. Hello, CTO. How are you guys this morning?
Fantastic!
Ready to roll, as always.
Yeah, this is a crazy time in history, and the story today is really to talk about diminishing everything and what that means for the price of assets and what's happening. We are living through a very special time. We had a bumpy weekend, which was another one of those great buying opportunities, and there's a lot of fear, despite fear and greed being at 70, there's a lot of fear out there in the marketplace. But before we jump into the whole deep agenda where we're going to talk about diminishing everything, how this cycle is very different, how Wednesday could be a historic day for the whole space. How are you guys? Had a good weekend? 2024 treating you well?
Oh yes, and like CTO says, we're back in full force. Monday is here. We love Mondays. Love to be hanging out with all of you guys. And today is really needed for us to do a stream because people are freaking out. Bitcoin is a bit rocky. Although if you look at the chart, especially the weekly chart, it's so beautiful. It's the perfect breakout of the ascending triangle. So looking forward to discussing with you guys today.
Yes, we will be talking about that breakout. Also, we have less than 100 days to the halving, which is crazy. We could have a spot ETF on Wednesday. There are billions on the sidelines ready to go into this thing. We have fee wars. We have, diminishing supply. We have money coming in that we've never seen before. We have rising Bitcoin fees, which is a bit of a concern. We've got Google searches exploding for things like Bitcoin and Bitcoin ETF. We've got TradFi from all over the world coming in, and apparently there's an echo, and so much more. So what I'm going to do is make sure I mute myself. I got it. Yeah. So everybody's pinging me. CTO, how are you doing? First of all, you're excited?
Oh, I'm so excited. I've had a great short time off with my family. I do hear myself also. It could be an echo cancellation feature in the and it was the perfect time to take a little bit break off because nothing happened. And now we're back. It's Monday. It's ETF week, and I'm so excited. I think that this is the next major step in Bitcoin's history, and it might happen this week, actually. I am so excited.
Have some type of weird sound problem. I know, I get it. I'm hearing the echo. So I'm going to just have to mute. Oh my God, this is, I'm plagued by technical difficulties. We're going to jump in anyway, and excuse the echo. I'm just going to mute myself liberally. Let's go to the very first item on the agenda. But before we do, make sure you subscribe to the two links below for CTO and Ivan. First of all, 100 days to go. What do you guys make of this? Big deal? Not a big deal?
Yeah. I feel that what will settle this is really what happens now. What happens this week, assuming ETF is approved this week, and that's really what will determine what happens from here. That's how I see it.
Check, guys. Can you hear me? I cannot really see CTO on our internal screen, but in terms of the market, let me share something with you. I think that this chart right here, the most beautiful thing to look at right now. Let me see, guys, if you...
Yep.
Do you see it, James?
Yes, it's shared.
Perfect. Man, it's so nice because this really gives me calmness and peace of mind. Whenever there is panic in the markets, people freaking out, people writing me, hey, Ivan, the world is going under. We have altcoins dumping a bit. Then I pull up the weekly chart it looks so great. We have the ascending triangle. It is breaking up. The target here is at 48K. It's following along very nicely, and we already had another one just a few weeks back, which did break up. And now we are in the second ascending triangle, basically two after each other. The trend is massively bullish, which CTO will also confirm on the Larsen line, I'm sure. So the most important thing right now is to look at the big picture, the bigger time frames, because yes, on the lower time frames, it is a bit shaky. I mean, now we're at 44.8. We've been down here to 43. It's up and down. People have a lot of emotions. It's a lot of debate. Is it sell the news? Is it not sell the news? But when you zoom out, you find a bit of zen, a bit of calmness. So that's my overall view. I am expecting the move up to these levels at 48. In case ETF is approved on Wednesday, as BlackRock is predicting. And let's find out how it moves from here.
That is super exciting. Let me bring everybody back in. And that is great. CTO, what's your take on this and the breakout? Do you see the same breakout that Ivan sees?
Yeah, so if I can share my screen here, if you can see it on the stream. So as Ivan mentioned, the trend is up, and trends in Bitcoin tend to be very sticky. They don't change direction many times. So the trend is solid up. We have a breakout. No matter how you draw this, we're trying for a second attempt for a breakout from this range. And that is happening today, right now. And if you look at the volume, you see this kind of drawing on the right side. That's on which price a lot of volume has changed hands. And as you see, a lot of volume changed hands at the resistance here. Right now, price is above that. So that's kind of below already. That's a very positive sign. So my expectation from here, I mean, I don't really try to predict. I try to react. But of course, I can speculate. And one key scenario is, of course, that assuming ETF is approved this week, that we have a massive pump from here. Everything supports that. Trend is up. Bullish chart pattern. I would be surprised if there isn't a pump on the news of approval. So, but then what happens after that? That's the key question. Will it just go in a straight line up? Or will it take some time? You know, once it's approved, price spikes, and we have a massive move up. But then I don't think that the institutional investors will be like the first 2 weeks. They maybe take some time to get the funds ready. And during that time, there could be like a what now moment where kind of the positive thing happened. But then what? Everyone is like in a then what move. So if there is a retracement, I think it will be then. It will be like after the first pump. But before the real money starts moving in. And if that happens, that would be the best scenario in my book, because that would be another entry opportunity where perhaps price will retrace to some support, and it could be another controlled entry before the big money starts really rolling into these ETFs. But who knows? Perhaps it doesn't happen. Perhaps it just continues up, and then, of course, we just enjoy the entries we have. That's how I see price going from here.
Yeah, this is interesting because a lot of people now are talking about so much different stuff, and it's kind of confusing me, but I think it was somebody once said, never underestimate how stupid people can be. I heard that this morning. But people are assuming, like a lot of people are writing like Substacks and everything else, that there's going to be a 30% drawdown. And there's going to be either that or a rug pull from Gary Gensler where he's going to find a last minute excuse not to approve the ETF. And then everything is just going to go haywire. But I just want people to understand that Bitcoin has been fine without the money all along. And it's always risen up until the halving. So even if there is no ETF, and considering how all things are breaking records right now, which we'll talk about in a minute, things should be fine. So all that talk of rug pulls and 30 to 40% drawdown and Bitcoin crashing down to 25,000, nonsense or possible? Because a lot of people are still hoping for that, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, in bull markets, it almost always happens that we have a 30% drawdown. The question is from which price? Is it from 100K back to 70, or from 80K back to whatever that is? So it's almost inevitable in each bull market. Even if you go back to a previous one, you will always find some 20 to 30% drawdown. But what is the best? What's going to happen after the ETF, like Sitio says, is that we will speculate about the next ETF. That's what's most exciting for me, because okay, let's say Bitcoin is approved. Yes, it's a bit of what now moment, but the natural question is, okay, is it ETH? Is it Solana? What's next? Because if Bitcoin is approved and now all retirement accounts can access Bitcoin, it's good to front run the next ETF. So I feel that shift is gonna be key in the market psychology. And also the question is how long before the trading starts? Because when the trading starts, that's when we may see a bit of disappointment drawdown. Imagine the first day of trading. Maybe it's not the billions that everyone expects. Like, it says that BlackRock is preparing 2 billion, this and that. What if it's a bit less? Maybe it's 50 million the first day. I mean, maybe it's a bit less than the market expects, and the market expects a lot. So that's the big question I have. It's not really about how much Bitcoin ETF performs. It's about how that relates to the expectations. And the expectations are high. So yeah, potentially a bit of a drawdown when it actually starts trading, but very quickly the market will shift towards what's the next ETF.
Okay, let's talk about some economic stuff that has me fascinated, and we'll go through this pretty fast. I'm going to share a couple of charts. I'm going to maximize them for a second so you will see, and then we'll come back and talk about each three of them. First of all, we have everything diminishing drawdowns, diminishing duration, i.e. things are moving faster and earlier, and there's diminishing supply. Let me talk about this first. This is the diminishing drawdowns from all-time high, which we've gone through, which we all understand. As you can see clearly, not only diminishing returns, but also less drawdowns. Okay. Now, next thing is you can see here on this chart from Econometrics, we are up higher and faster than previous cycles. So people are front-running things. Third thing, there is diminishing supply. We are going into a halving cycle where there's less supply than ever before. I use this chart a lot because I think this is the most exciting economic experiment ever. And a fourth one, the drawdowns are much smaller than before in bull markets. So when you put all of that together, that paints a very, in my mind, from an economics perspective, a very exciting picture. So you have, for the first time ever, massive amounts of money coming in. Ivan, you mentioned 2 billion from BlackRock. That's the number floating around. That is way more than flows into Bitcoin, like in a week or 2 weeks or sometimes even a month. And now we have all of these factors coming in too. First question is, could this be a cycle where not only do we not get diminished returns, we get higher returns than the previous run? A lot of people believe the last bull run was actually capped because of manipulation and fraud by some nefarious players. But with all the other stuff that I just shared, what do you guys make of that? For me, this tells me an explosive picture that perhaps Bitcoin could really outperform many altcoins. Ivan, what do you think first?
James, people are saying that I work as a baseball announcer or that I work on a train station because it's like echo or only from Ivan. I don't know. I don't know what it is because I have.
I would think that it's echo from me too. Is it echoing when I'm talking also? Is it echoing from here?
I don't hear any echo.
Check. Okay, guys, let me know if it's still that I work in a baseball announcer, in like a baseball announcer. But yeah, I mean, in terms of that squeeze, it's uncharted territory. I think that the market will surprise us because we've never had the situation like right now where the U.S. interest rates are higher, like the expense that the government pays for interest is higher than the military budget, for example. We've been discussing it at length here, but it's really the first time that the world is ready to switch their brains, because in the past it's just been speculation bubble. It's just been, okay, we invest in crypto just to get a small gain here and there, maybe life-changing gain, but then we go back into dollars. I mean, now actually the world is different, and the world is thinking more long-term in terms of crypto. It's an investment vehicle, it's a savings vehicle. It's not just this quick in and out. And of course, with the limited supply, the fact that you cannot increase supply to meet the demand as demand is surging, is going to be an uncharted territory. So whenever someone says, diminishing return, this and that, it's still not we're not there yet to draw any conclusion. So I totally agree with you, James, in that regard. But at the same time, yes, the market is bigger, but the market is still, I mean, it's the SEC fake news approving the ETF, and then in a few months we had the SEC denying the ETF. So the market, it's not like it's hard to move. It's not like the Bitcoin is so big now that it's gonna be impossible to pump it up and have a bigger cycle. We're not at all at those levels. So it's still early on, and too early to draw any conclusions whether it's diminishing or not. And in fact, the thinking change has just started. It's only now that people are seeing Bitcoin and crypto as long term. You buy it to hodl it and to never sell it, because it's the best way to have your money. No one can control it except for you. And most people are getting that moment, the Bitcoin moment. And once you get the Bitcoin moment, you don't get it. You can never go back. Once you try the freedom of crypto, it's very hard to now do endless KYC and beg the bankers for your money. It is impossible. So it is a virus, and it is the best idea ever. And nothing is stronger than the idea whose time has come. Someone famous said that. Maybe you guys in chat can tell us who said this quote, that nothing can stop an idea whose time has come. And Bitcoin is right on the brink of that global understanding.
That is very well said.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, many times things seem so obvious to us when we sit here with this every day, year in and year out. And it seems obvious that this is great. And we kind of don't really understand why not everyone gets it. But maybe we just get it a little earlier. They will all understand it. And perhaps it's that it will happen. So I think, James, on your question, can this go higher and faster and more wild than even the biggest optimists like us here think? Yeah, absolutely. I think it can definitely happen. But one thing I want to remind about is that the institutions are not playing nice. They want to, manipulate the market as well if they can. So I don't think that it's going to be like a small, smooth, straight line up to the horizon. I don't think so. I think there will be some unexpected things happening, trying to rattle everyone, trying to get them to long and then crash the market and then step out at the bottom and then run it back up. I think all that will continue. I don't think that's going to disappear because institutions are entering. On the contrary, I think it might get more of that, which is great because that's an opportunity. I love that. So I'm very happy for that. And I think that the possible outcomes have expanded now with these players entering the market with this much money. What is possible has changed. That is changing this year, assuming the ETF gets approved, because there's only so much, a couple of happy people on the internet and some random investors can do. But if these big money are coming in, it's a different outcome. Perhaps all our dreams will be exceeded in that. It will get wilder than the most wild person can imagine. That is definitely.
I remember, CTO, when we met, you told me something very good that I think about. That it always go way higher than you think, and also way lower than you think in the bear market. Exactly. But at the same time, like, aren't these fake articles we had where the ETF was denied and everything dumped, and then ETF was approved and everything pumped? Like, isn't that the proof that the market is not too big to move in a big way? Because that's what people say when they say that it's going to be diminishing returns. Oh, now we're at soon at trillions, and it's not gonna move that much. I mean, one article can move it very, very much. And by the way, guys, we have news now from Gensler. I shared the screen there. He has a thread now on crypto investing, and that you should be careful, and that it's very volatile, and so on and so forth, which is probably a sign that approval is imminent. It's imminent because they are tweeting a lot. And so now he tweeted just a few minutes back. SEC tweeted yesterday about investing in crypto and be careful. So I treat it as a basically them having approved the whole thing and final warnings to the public before they release it. What do you guys think?
Oh, that's fantastic to see.
That is so good. And thank you for bringing the real-time news in there as well. So let's talk about some of this stuff. Whoops. Hold on a second. I want to share some of the other key news that's happening right now as we speak. We have the news that the tickers are all out. So, for example, the ticker is IBIT for BlackRock. In addition, BlackRock said they have $2 billion on the sidelines, and BlackRock also said they expect spot Bitcoin ETF approval on Wednesday. I mean, there's now 95 to 98% chance that these people are right. But get this is the most important thing. These ETFs are already talking about the fees. They already have listed their fees before the ETF is even approved. That is a sign right there. Now, the interesting thing about this is if you look at the numbers for Grayscale, they're dropping their fees down to 1.5%, whereas all the other players at like 0.29%, 0.2%, 0.3%, first 6 months free. BlackRock is 0.3%, WisdomTree is 0.5%. This is incredible. And so the fee wars are in place right now. And this is not something that actually happens unless this thing is going to be very real. And Ivan, again, thank you for sharing that live tweet from Gary Gensler. I know you're good friends with him, so
yeah, I mean, he puts all kinds of blogs out. If you guys want to watch, go to the last stream we did today. And like you say, James, all of these ETFs, they're pushing the fees down. I even read that they're gonna do this ETF at a loss. The cheapest ones, that the fees are so low that they're barely covering the whole operation. And probably, I mean, I'm wondering, and if this is something maybe you, James, and CTO know, but the fees, are they getting it directly in Bitcoin, or is it that they sell it and get in fiat? Because of course, if they get it directly in Bitcoin, everyone wants their hands on Bitcoin. The higher the AUM, the more of the precious Bitcoins they're gonna get before the halving, before the pump. So it makes sense that you can maybe run it at a loss for a while, and then become the biggest one. But what do you guys think about the fee aspect?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. What they have to do, they have to take cash in and then buy Bitcoin from the miners or from the market or wherever else, or from Coinbase. And then they have to earn their fees over time. So they don't take the fees when the money comes in off the gate. So that means the asset will be Bitcoin. And for them to take their fees, they have to pull out Bitcoin and then convert that to cash. And if they're clever, they'll hold the Bitcoin. So you're dead right there. CTO, what do you think? I think you're still muted.
Muted?
Okay, let's try again. So that was actually a question that I had when the whole ETF thing started. Like, how does it work? Is it like a price tracker certificate or something that you can, make a 10x long instead of buying 10 Bitcoin with, can you long with 1 Bitcoin and instead of buying 10? But no, they have to actually buy the Bitcoin. That is my understanding. And there is no way around that. So when money goes into the ETF, these players will actually buy the Bitcoin. There will not be any other construction permitted. That is my understanding. And if any of you have any other understanding, that would be very good to know. So there is definitely there need to be real Bitcoin purchased. And that is, of course, very good news, which is different than from some of the price tracker certificates that we have in Europe, for example. So that is really great. How the fees are calculated, I actually don't know. That's a good question. Can they speculate with the fee amounts or, don't know. But the big takeaway from this whole fee war that is starting now is that there will be a marketing war. There will be a war for these customers. They will compete on everything. Imagine how much it costs to lower the fees. They are spending huge money on that, marketing tactic alone. Imagine how much money they will spend on just regular marketing, just talking about it and saying that, come and buy, we are the best, this is the most exciting thing, and so on. And remember, one of the last episodes we did in 2023, I did a prediction of some of the words that we will get out from some of the US bankers' mouth in 2024, where in the 2023 they said that it's all a scam and it should be switched off, basically. They should be banned and switched off. I think in 2024, those same bankers will be back and say, but now, fortunately, there is a transparent and compliant alternative to have Bitcoin exposure, and it is these great ETFs that we are happy to broker. Come and buy, everyone, come and buy, and everyone will be marketing this. And imagine what that will do to the public. I mean, the only marketing that Bitcoin has had so far is a couple of guys like us here who seems completely crazy to the general population. And still it has taken off. Imagine when these actually trusted institutions are out marketing Bitcoin to the general public. It will be amazing.
It's so funny you said that about the bankers, CTO, because this just came out from Goldman Sachs, literally this morning. Goldman Sachs expects the crypto market to explode in 2024 as traditional institutions enter. They were anti-crypto for the longest time. Now they're part of the whole food chain, and speaking of players that are part of the food chain too, this is the custodians for all of the different applicants, which I think, and sorry to everybody, we're spending so much time on this because this is going to move crypto and Bitcoin like we've never seen before. That's why we're giving it some attention. But if you look here, you have the players like Coinbase doing the majority, Gemini, or custodying for VanEck. Fidelity have been Bitcoin mining for 10 years. They know more about Bitcoin than any of these TradFi companies, and they will be doing self-custody. And that, for me, is very interesting. And I'd nearly want a one-stop shop where there's no kind of intermediaries. What do you think about the custodian aspect of this? If you had to pick one, would you like a firm like a BlackRock to work with another partner for custody? Or would you want one-stop shop like Fidelity that has a very good reputation, has been around for a long time, they do nothing to tarnish that? CTO, what do you think about custody of Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean, anyone can get hacked in that. That is a fact. And that's the only slight concern with the whole ETF saga. What happens if 10 billion or 50 billion in Bitcoin go missing one day? They come to work, they get their coffee, they log in, whoever custodian it is, and then they choke on the coffee because all the Bitcoin is gone. Something that just couldn't happen has happened, and they all scratch their head and they can't figure out how it happened. But I mean, LastPass, which only does IT security for 20 years or whatever, 15 years, they could get hacked. In the end, it takes a combination of one disgruntled employee on the inside and, some technical mistakes and the whole sequence of events, someone getting hacked at home and a long combination of seemingly impossible events. And then in the end, it is hacked. Ledger list of people who had purchased Ledger drives got hacked. I was one of those whose address got leaked 6 years ago or something like that. I'm still suffering from that. And these are companies that only do IT security. That's the only thing they do. They go out, they've tried to hire the best security people they can find. They have all departments looking at risk profiles. They still got hacked. That means everyone can get hacked in that. So if thinking like putting black hat on, what would be the possibility? What could happen? What would be the way to minimize the risk? Probably someone like Coinbase still is a good tip because they've been there a long time. They handle a lot of money. They are not having so many new staff probably that may be more likely to do a mistake. So I would probably be more comfortable with, say, Coinbase than someone who hasn't, if we get new players entering, for example, new custodians, I would away from them and their associated ETFs, because I don't know actually what happens. If the Bitcoin is gone one day, what happens to the ETF? I guess it's gone also.
The Bitcoin is gone. Ivan, a little question for you. A lot of people say that this ETF is for the normies, the people who are late to the party, the people who've been around for a long time. They don't care about this, but we do care about the money flow. Do you expect ever anybody who is a crypto native to actually buy a spot ETF?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of what CTO talks about. There is a risk in custodian, and you yourself, you're also a custodian. And at some point, like, how much do you want to store fully yourself? And does it make sense to put a bit in ETF and maybe a bit on somewhere else, or do you want to have full custody? It depends on the size of your bag, but it does become quite a big question. The longer you're in crypto, the more you accumulate. And also, there are in many countries there are many advantages with an ETF from tax perspective, because for some weird reason, it is a big difference whether you have physical Bitcoin, like real Bitcoin, or whether you have fake Bitcoin in your retirement account. It can be in many countries from zero tax in your retirement account to 30%, maybe even higher if you have real Bitcoin. So there are many use cases for Bitcoin in your bank account. There are many use cases, and pension is one of them. When it comes to, and yeah, tax optimization is another. And when it comes to custodian, it is an interesting question, because I guess this is the first time we have an ETF which is pure digital asset, where if something happens, there is no way to roll back the clock and roll back the transaction. And I guess that's a question which will get tested. If it is the case that we see a massive hack, what will happen to the Bitcoin devs? Will they get approached by some institution to try to roll it back? Some of these ETFs, I saw one of them announce that they will now support Bitcoin development with a portion of their fees. Will they get more involved with Bitcoin developers? And so on and so forth. So all of these different questions will get tested in a new light, and that's going to be interesting to see how it evolves. But all in all, the reason why it takes so long time to approve the ETF is because of custody, because it's a new asset. So I would imagine that Gary Gensler ensures that everything is at highest standards after all of these deliberations, delays, and so on and so forth. I mean, the ETF is now 10 plus years in the making. So I'm overall, I would bet that they have it figured out, but always a risk. Like, it's even with the best security, it's always a scale. There's no 100% security, and the question is what happens next. That's an unknown still.
There is another huge advantage of the ETF also that I think will play a much bigger role than most people are realizing. And that is the physical security aspect. Because that is a real consideration for many people with a lot of money. Because one great thing with self-custody is that you can have full control, you have all the money. This isn't a wallet, it's a remote, but something like this, you can control all the money, and if you punch in the PIN code, you send off $1 billion. Whoop, off it goes to another address. The problem then is if someone gets hold of you as a person and the wallet, and even if you have like some multi-sig, they pick up all three people then. They sort it out, and then they have all three people and they hit them until they send off the $1 billion. That is a problem, a very real problem that has become bigger and bigger. Custodian solve that problem completely. So the ETF in itself solve that problem 100%, because you simply cannot log into your bank and send off $1 billion to North Korea or somewhere. It doesn't work. The transfer doesn't go through. So that solves that problem. And I think that probably a lot of rich people have thought about this. They wanted to enter crypto, but they didn't want to take that physical risk. So they held off. Now they can do it. Now they can enter that. And for many public or semi-public people, such as myself, this is a great thing. I'm going to use this to avoid that security risk. Very real.
It's so true, and that's one of the reasons why I'm more comfortable with things like MicroStrategy, because it's in an account where you can't just hit a button and transfer it. It's kind of locked down. Anyway, next story. This is one thing is a little bit concerning about Bitcoin. Are the fees of Bitcoin going too high? Somebody spent $66,000 to inscribe data onto Bitcoin. Nobody knows what it says. Do you think there could be a problem in the future, like with all of the ETF stuff coming in and the big money transfers? That's like the mempools are already full and have been full for the last 12 weeks as far as I can see. Is this going to be an increasing problem for the protocol? And we've seen the problems that Ethereum have had, and even some other
I mean, guys, this is just the beginning. I see so many things on top of ordinals. It's just starting, and now there are a whole podcast, great podcast. I don't remember the name, but I found two guys sitting in very nice studios talking about ordinals. There are new token standards. Like I feel like an old man when I enter it. So it's a vibrant ecosystem. It's just gonna get bigger. All these ordinals, and Luke Dash Jr. cannot stop them. The Bitcoin dev said that we're not stopping it. There's no good way to stop it. So at least for now, there's no good way for anyone to stop ordinals. And by the way, about that, like 66,000, like we don't know what it is. It's 9 megabyte of data. Is it some information that someone has put and maybe, telling someone else, hey, if you don't do this and this, we're going to make it public? Is it something with Epstein? Epstein, who the hell knows? Like, it's just conspiracy. But that's like one thing with Bitcoin you can do. You can put something, it gets attention, and will get decrypted or not. And in another mystery that I saw today as well was that someone transferred 26 Bitcoin to Satoshi. and that one is another interesting one we can discuss later if you have on the agenda. I have some theories there as well. But yeah, listen, the inscriptions, people are inscribing. People have put full Shrek movie script on Bitcoin and on ETH. So it's whole new use case, guys. It's really a new, and I love it. Like I think it's great. I think that's it really brings so much interest to Bitcoin. We've never seen it like this before. It's crazy. The only problem is the UTXOs exploding, like because whenever you track something, you have to like split UTXO more and more. So that's the only problem. The UTXO set is skyrocketing, which is a problem.
Yeah, and I did say to people as well. About people were very concerned about the money being transferred to Satoshi's wallet. They thought Satoshi was alive, and maybe he is, she is, the team, whatever. And I said anybody can transfer anything into any wallet. You only need to be concerned if it's being transferred out. But I'd like to hear your theory on that 26 Bitcoin to Satoshi's wallet, Ivan, while we're here.
Yeah, let me save that for a few minutes. Let's go to CTO and then and we'll go to the theory about Satoshi.
I have a prediction about the Bitcoin fees. I think the block size debate will be back 2024. And my prediction is that the heads of the small block camps will say that, no, we were never against increasing the block size. And in fact, it should have been done earlier and blah, blah, blah. And they're going to increase the block size. That's my prediction. It will take some time. Maybe it goes into 2025. But that is my prediction. I think I said it at the time when that whole war went on, that I felt that on the subject matter, the big block people were correct. They were just so annoying that people couldn't separate the subject matter from the annoying individuals that made everyone go completely crazy and then hating on their opinion as well. But actually, I mean,
there was a guy going haywire at me. It's a mutual contact of ours, CTO, but people were like religious. It's crazy. Oh, yeah. So it's always like you don't want to hear about big blocks just because of the behavior.
Oh yeah. It was complete. It was complete lunacy somehow with the whole thing that went on there. But I think still they were right. I mean, it's not going to work. Say that 10 times as many people start using Bitcoin tomorrow. We are actually successful. Suddenly, the whole world starts subscribing to Ivan on Tech and James and some to CTO, and they realize, oh, Bitcoin is great. I'm going to start using it today. And 10 times as many people do exactly what everyone else is doing. It's going to stop working. And we don't have any Lightning that is useful right now. And then Ordinals is coming on top. It's full. You need to increase the capacity somehow. That or everything moves custodial. And I think that would be a pity, actually, because it is kind of this little bit experimentation. We don't know what is coming out. Suddenly, as you say, Ivan, there's new token standards. What will that lead to? Some new innovation. I like this innovation, and I think it should continue. And this idea of storing data on the blockchain, I always felt it's such a great idea. The use cases are endless. NFTs is maybe the first use case that really took off. You store basically, you don't store usually the picture of the NFT. You just store a link to somewhere where the picture is held. But storing data on the blockchain is a great idea, and there's so many use cases where this could take off. But it needs to be on like the mainstream. It needs to be on the mainstream. It needs to be on Bitcoin to really take off. And yeah, I think there will be a second round of this whole debate, and I think we'll start it there.
And there's a counterpoint to that too. A lot of people potentially fear if there is an ETF, all the money will go, all the Bitcoin will go into this black hole, and there'll be very few Bitcoin available for trading and usage and everything else. Is that a concern, or is that just nonsense? I think it's nonsense, because everybody will break it down to Satoshis. Ivan, what do you think of that story?
No, like you say, there's always someone saying that, all Bitcoin is gonna end. It's only 21 million. It's been forever. It's been forever. So yeah, one Bitcoin can be broken up into 100 million Satoshis. So the only thing that will happen is that Bitcoin will be worth more. So if we have that problem, it means that Bitcoin is at millions of dollars, and we're all paying each other in Satoshis. So that will be a very good, brilliant future.
All right, let's talk about, unless you want to do your Satoshi story. Let's
take it while we're at it. I mean, basically, there is this story on Twitter that, I mean, wouldn't it be funny that Craig Wright has won some kind of lawsuit, or maybe someone owes him money. Someone owes him 26.9 Bitcoin, which was sent to Satoshi's wallet. And, just to troll Craig Wright, because he has so many court cases open where he claims that he's Satoshi, just to troll him, that person says, okay, I owe you 26.9 Bitcoin. I send it to Satoshi wallet. You're Satoshi, right? I hope that's true. Because, I mean, he has like tens of lawsuits open where he claims he's Satoshi. There is no way he can deny it. So that's the perfect payment for all the payments to Craig Wright. I would love for that to be true.
And I always said that just for him to prove he is Satoshi, he just needs to move a sat, and that's it. Say, I'm going to move this sat on this day at this time, done. And then everybody knows. But then his counter reaction to that is, oh, I lost my keys. So again, anyway, we're not going to waste any more oxygen on that guy. So a lot of people now are interested in where you see things going. So there was news today that Binance listed their XAI, Binance listed XAI, which is Singularity Net's native token, which is big news. There's other news as well that Grayscale added XRP to their GDLC holding, and they're selling Matic, Polygon. They should be adding something like Arbitrum. Anyway, it's just weird, the stuff that's happening right now. But a lot of people are very interested in where you see the next year going. What are your favorite altcoins? What's your favorite sector? And what's your favorite ecosystem? CTO, you first.
Yeah, I don't have a clear opinion yet. That's what I'm going to start the year by making a fresh take on, because I feel like this, that the risk that we all face a little bit in crypto is that it's easy to be stuck in yesterday's narrative somehow. And we three here, we had a lot of success 2023. We were largely right on a lot of things. And it's easy then to start the new year and be lazy and think that, I am so great, so I'm just going to sit back and relax and so on. So that's one of the first things I will do here in January. I will reevaluate everything with a blank sheet of paper. I will go through all the projects again and form a new opinion from scratch. So my short answer is that I'm proud that I don't know, because I want to take a fresh take on it. I mean, all the things that I said last year is still true, but, maybe the situation has changed and I want to challenge myself. So that's my short answer.
Ivan, what about you, sir?
Yeah, I mean, there is one narrative that I'm tracking especially, and that the parallel EVM, because a lot of people have seen Solana, and they're, of course, wondering what's next Solana. Solana pumped to $100. So what was going to be the answer from the EVM side, where you have parallel execution, where you have this endless scalability? And there is one project released, which is Say, which has been already pumping a lot as well. But then there are many unreleased projects, which will probably do airdrops, which will probably do some incentives for people. And one of them to watch out for is Monad, which has been developing parallel EVM for ages, actually even before Say. All in all, I agree. Mostly, I agree with CTO that whatever is industry, like whatever trend, you will always see it when it actually happens. Like you will never be late if you have trend following indicators. If you can see that way, and now it is bullish against Bitcoin on some time frame, and you can see it early and you can spot it early, you don't have to care about exact industry as long as you can see the price shifting into a bullish trend. But at the same time, from the perspective of getting into airdrops, getting into early communities, from that perspective, it is of course interesting to analyze trends and ecosystems. So parallel EVM is one of them. I mean, obviously, gaming is a massive one. It will continue in 2024 with a growth, especially on Ronin. There is a lot of growth. There is this. If you want to try a game without a coin still, try Pixels. It's kind of like farm, not really like Farmville, but a bit like that, where you farm stuff and you walk around. If you like Habbo Hotel, if you played it 20 years ago or when it was popular, you will like that. So GameFi definitely not going away, and games now are actually good. I mean, they're good. They are good quality. They're thought through. They're not money grabs like in 2018. And if you think about the average Joe, what they will understand in crypto the fastest, it is that you can play a game and you can earn money by killing a dragon. So from a mainstream potential, gaming is probably the most interesting industry that can go there fastest, because you just need one single game, whether it's some kind of Flappy Bird, Habbo Hotel, some kind of MMORPG. And for the people to start getting this idea that, man, I can play a game and I can earn money. Nice. Awesome. Because that unlocks a whole new player base. Personally, I don't want to play any game where it's just a waste of time. Like I'm not 12 anymore to just play something and waste my life. But man, if I can kill this dragon and maybe it drops 12K that we can then put into altcoins, and we can put it into crypto. Man, maybe it's a bit interesting. Maybe I can play a bit more. So it's this whole ecosystem that is this whole audience that can potentially be unlocked if you can monetize your time as a player, which I think will happen with crypto. In terms of time, it would be great in 2024, but let's see. It always takes a bit longer, especially with games, as it takes time to develop. So to summarize, check parallel EVM, check GameFi. Then obviously there is this AI. Will AI do something? Just from a narrative perspective, AI is always strong. It's very low fundamentals still in crypto when it comes to AI. Like all of these projects, it's not like they're actually contributing to AI for real, and that there's like real AI models running and generating output for different use cases. But probably it will come back as ChatGPT has improvements. Whenever ChatGPT improves, some new thing happens with real AI, crypto AI will pump. Like it makes no sense, but just like CTO said, you don't underestimate the stupidity, or James or who said it today. It's gonna happen. It's fully unrelated, but the AI sector will still perform well in crypto. So that's a summary of the ecosystems that I look at.
Speaking of other data, it's kind of like weird fake news, and literally at this stage, I see things and they just annoy me, like Santiment. Are they now corrupt? They talk about the growth in 2023 of chains, and they talk about wallet growth, but they ignore what's actually happened in 2023 completely. I mean, they're not talking about the chains that have exploded or the tokens that have exploded in adoption. I mean, you can just talk about a meme coin like Bonk, and it's stratospheric. Why do certain sources of news and data and research tell lies these days? Any idea? I can blow this up so people can see it. But here they talk about the increase in wallet size across things like Cardano, XRP, Doge, and Link. I mean, we'll talk about this in a second, but I believe many of these are kind of yesterday's coins, not really, not that one, not really where the market is going today. How do you decipher this? And are they just trying to mislead people, or are Santiment pumping their own bags, or are they working for somebody to share these lies?
I think it's way simpler, because whenever you look at two different data analytics platforms, you always get two different answers. Whether you look at, for example, even in the ETH ecosystem, you look at DeFi Llama or L2Beat, it's always different. So I never look at crypto stats as an absolute number, because there are many different ways to count it, because one person can have many different addresses. So how do you solve that? Some platforms may solve that by having one way of filtering away and trying to cluster addresses, and another platform may do it differently. Some platforms, for example, another debate is how to count TVL. It's very hard. If you have assets in one protocol, and then the LP tokens or the stake tokens are used in another protocol, do you count that capital as double? Because it is kind of double, you double accounting it, or do you not do it? So it's many like small decisions that all of the different analytics companies have to make, where the output becomes very different. So when I look at any crypto stat, I look more in terms of order of magnitude. Is it in 1 to 10 million range TVL and users? Is it times 4? Because it can be times 4 or times 8, and then okay, somewhere there, but it's definitely not times 100. And then maybe another ecosystem has from times 100 to times 1,000. So it's weird, because it should be that you have everything on chain, everything is super clear, and you have exact answers, but it's not at all like that, because there are so many interpretations to be made. You can have many wallets that one person has, or vice versa. You can have one wallet that many different persons share because it's an exchange wallet. So I've always found it hard to trust any crypto analytics. And probably these guys, they have some intern that has that looked at some, they have some engagement strategy there that they need to post. They have someone that needs to post. He or she just pulled up some data. Here it is. Let's see how many likes it gets. It didn't get that many likes. Okay, tomorrow they will try another strategy. But I don't think that they try to pump their bag or that they're evil or something like that. It's way simpler most often.
Because I can pull up 10 examples where there's like 1 million to 10 million% growth in addresses for different chains. And they say, oh, look at Chainlink, it did 11% growth in a year. In crypto, that is a total nothing burger. CTO, any perspective on this data?
I think it's just some random person working there that has made some not so great research and posted it. That's my guess.
And
it seems obvious to us here, but if you worked 6 months in this space and you're tasked to post 10 tweets and you don't really know what you're doing, this might happen. That's my guess. But I don't think they're significant enough to manipulate the market. So I think that they won't do it because no one cares really anyway. But who knows?
But people tell me sometimes that I'm also pumping bags because I'm not covering Cardano. And then man, I covered Cardano yesterday, and now the guy in the comments, he still wants me to cover it also today. Why do you cover Solana and you don't cover Cardano? Huh? It's gotta be because you're paid by Sergey Nazarov and by Anatoly. That's why, of course. So I get it every day. Oh, why don't you cover this? Why not ICP? That's the latest one, because now Cardano actually has some metrics to look at. So sometimes we bring it up. So I feel that I have less Cardano guys. Now it's, hey, ICP, are you paid to not cover ICP? I get it every day. It's way simpler, guys.
Well, you can tell what a scam is by how many pumpers are in your comments of a YouTube video. And when you see the same thing pop up 50 times in 1 hour, you know it's a scam. And therefore, I just block the search terms, and it drives me even more crazy. I want to share something technical with you guys, because this is something that kind of vexes me, and you both understand technology. So speaking of chains, etc., what I did was I took the theoretical max transactions per second, I took the days since launch for all these different chains, and time to finality, and created a new ratio called max TPS divided by time to finality. And when you look at this data, it's kind of very stunning as to how it shakes out. You have the older the chain, literally the worse the ratio is, and there's a direct correlation and relationship between age of chain and speed and finality. What do you guys think about this as technologists, and especially interested in your take, CTO, with an analog to telco, and how you believe speed does matter, and if it does matter and finality matters, what does this mean for the old chains that really are in the orange and red here? And I'm just very interested in how you guys think about this. CTO, you first.
Yeah, definitely. These basic metrics like transaction capacity, time to finality, cost per transaction, and so on. They are super critical. I've said that from the start, and it's been my biggest concern about Bitcoin and to some extent Ethereum too, from the very beginning. I think it matters a lot. It was one of the reasons that I was positive very early to the Binance Smart Chain when that came out. Everyone did it and said that it will never succeed, but it did. It did because it was better on these metrics. And then of course came newer protocols that are even better, like Solana, that are then short time to finality, low cost, high transaction speed. And then you can have all these like ideological arguments on the other side. But it's not decentralized. Not everyone can run their nodes. It's not democratic. It's not this and that. Okay, but most people don't care. They care about that it's cheap, has high capacity, and that it's fast. And especially time to finality is, as you say, it's very important for financial transactions. That's why, I mean, last year I started learning about these things with clawbacks. In the US legal system, at least, there is something called clawback, that if you made a business transaction with someone, if things go south, there's a possibility to come and take the money back. But not in financial sectors, like in normal traditional financial sectors, are excluded from the clawback laws. But then they argue about crypto is not the traditional finance, it should still be, and so on and so forth. But over a course of time, people have figured out that for financial transactions, they have to be final. You have to know that if I trade one stock for $1, I actually have the dollar. So when I buy the next stock, I had it. No one's going to come back and try to reverse that transaction, because then the whole financial system falls apart. If you can't rely on that the deal you made is actually stands. And that is a problem with some, if then taking that whole model and translating it into a digital space where everything is run by digital bots, and instead of sending papers to each other to sign, they operate on milliseconds. One bot sells to another bot, and the next second you buy it back, and you have some whole strategy around that, and it's executing on millisecond level. And then if you can't trust finality, 10 hours later, the whole thing comes and says that no, all those transactions, we're going to roll them back. They were actually not final. That's a problem for financial transactions. And I think that's one of the things that Solana did so well. They kind of said that no, final has to come faster so that we can enable these transactions. And I think it was specifically for this reason, to make it a better platform for financial transactions, while much of the blockchain history didn't come from this. It came from a point of view that things can be rolled back, but it will eventually reach consensus later. And I think it's a very interesting perspective you've done, James. And you lifted this aspect very early, I think, because of your background in finance and so on, that you saw this advantage. Is that right?
It takes me to another topic of the speed of light. Literally, we're getting to the space and time right now with technology where speed of light is the limiting factor. Can we go quicker than the speed of light? That's a telco question, because apparently the speed of light is faster than, or is the same speed as optical cables. But is there anything faster than that? And could that be the limiting factor for crypto in the future? Like, how fast can we go? Where does it top off? And what does it mean for these older chains? I ask Ivan that one.
Yeah, I mean, this is super interesting from the perspective that I think at the end of the day, we will have infinite number of transactions because of things running in parallel. Just like the internet, you can just add more servers. You can separate concerns more. You can separate the state more. And it's going to be interesting to see where the different schools of thought meet on that. Where, like Anatoly says, he wants to have a state machine at the speed of light. But where is the limit? Is it the speed of light, like you say, James? And what if you have another system that is maybe a bit slightly broken up based on concerns? It's not fully, the same state. And are there different use cases that can cater to these different models can cater to or not? Because there are different approaches to this thinking. And in my mind, the way internet has scaled has shown that there is no limit. We can add more servers, we can add more networks. Everyone doesn't have to speak to everyone at the same time. But like you say, some use cases need the state, and that's where Solana is. And other use cases are more that we can separate concern. And different school of thoughts. Does one have to absolutely kill and obliterate the other one? I don't think so. I think we're going to have Internet of Chains. There's going to be some level abstraction on top of that. So that's how I'm thinking about this.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think hierarchies and parallelism is the obvious way to infinitely scale everything digital. And whether we will ever see anything faster than light, I guess the future will have to tell. It will be something in the field of quantum physics then.
Exactly.
Spooky action at the distance. I think I just rechecked that was the quote. But no one has been able to do it yet, so perhaps it's not possible. But it would be in that space then.
Well, quick summary. We've talked a lot about Bitcoin and limitations and fees and capacity and trends. So we'll stay on that and track. Maybe what we should do in a separate video in the future is share kind of our portfolios or investments so far in 2024. I think the audience would love to see that. So let's go to some real quick questions. Don't forget everybody to subscribe to the links below for these two wonderful gentlemen. Super Soul Man says, thank you to my favorite baseball announcer. That's Ivan. I don't know what happened to the sound.
I saw a CTO just join me in the announcement league now in the very last question.
Next is a question for Ivan from MT. Play the Gensler clip from this morning. Was there a funny Gensler clip?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you guys can watch on my channel. It's at the end. I basically watched his vlog. It's actually his pinned comment. You know, he actually has a guy who edits his videos, his New Year resolution. He is taking a personal spin on this whole leadership role, where he not only is regulating, he's also a vlogger of sorts. So yeah, we did a bit of a vlog review on that. You guys should check it. I don't know if previous SEC chairmen or heads of SEC have done it like this, where they take this personal influencer approach. But yeah, Gary, he loves it. He even made this like bubble head. What's it called? Like, he has a statue of himself with like a big head, small statue with like Christmas jacket. I mean, it's crazy. I thought it was quite funny. You muted, Jess.
Next question is from Reclused Man up there in Canada. This is a weird question. I can't figure out how to take Sol out of Jupiter. So Jupiter is an aggregator. I can cover that real quick. At least what I do is you open your wallet. I use Phantom. You can use Soulflare as well. Log into Jupiter Exchange. Navigate to the balance in the wallet section. Locate the ticket. And then hit the buttons beside it. It says withdraw. And then pick an address that you want to send it to, and then that's it. Finality happens instantaneously. It's staggering how you don't have to wait 5 or 10 minutes for it to happen. It'll be there in a second. So next question is from Priya Cutterall. Don't forget to hide your names, everybody, on the internet. Keep everything. So thank you, James. Sold an inherited property, and 80% of it went into Sol at $12. Thank you, Ivan, for giving me laughs on my midnight shifts during the past 2 years. And thank you, CTO, as well. We're retired boys, so congratulations to Priya. Next question from Aristotle or Plato. Why do so many good commentators want this ETF? If BlackRock or Fidelity pull out of it, is it going to wreck so much of the retail? And not all of us are millionaires with buffers of extreme volatility. So do you think BlackRock or Fidelity could pull out? And why does everybody want the ETF? I think it's a pretty straightforward answer. It's money. The more money comes into the space, the more the space will evolve. But do you think BlackRock or Fidelity could rug something that they've been wanting for years and years? Over to you guys.
I mean, I think once they step into it, they're going to stay there for some time. They're not going to bail out the next month or something. I don't think so.
Any thoughts, Ivan?
Yeah, I mean they're raising in terms of fees. They're decreasing fees. They want they want business. So why would they step away? But if they do, there are so many other applications. I think we're at 9 or 11 ETF applications. So and everyone wants to be the first, like you, James, have been saying, the first one, or most of the capital. So it's a long tail kind of business.
Exactly.
Like I said earlier during the show, my guess is that it will not be a straight diagonal line from here to the moon. No, I don't think so. So, get a hold of yourself. Don't wait to buy until the end of each pump and then get frightened each time it dumps and sell each bottom. Do the other way around instead.
Exactly. And have a plan and have a target and have a limit order ready to fill that target. That's what I do, and it works very well. Next question is from GA. Would you guys recommend to rotate your alts into Bitcoin and Ethereum now and rotate later out? I think it's more of a question of where you see the alt season happening. And I think this time is different, but I'm interested in your perspective, then I'll share my perspective. Ivan, what do you think? Rotate alts into Bitcoin and Ethereum now, or do something different?
Yeah, it depends on who is asking, like what kind of approach you have. Personally, I'm not doing that too much. I'm not following, okay, now, for a short while, like the last few days, Bitcoin is moving up, so let's adjust. I'm not doing that. Now, some people may make money by trading in and out, but my approach is more towards the cycle, that we have a 4-year cycle where all coins overall do better. And if you pick coins, it's, in my view, the best risk reward. So this is not my cup of tea, but I know that a lot of people care about dominance way more than I do, and probably have success trading it. But you're kind of late now, because I mean dominance is already increased, like also already dumped against the Bitcoin in the last few days. Maybe it will continue. I don't really care.
Yeah. CTO, any thoughts on rotation? You're muted.
Check.
Sorry. Yeah. So usually the best environment for altcoins is after Bitcoin has moved up and flattened out. And that's really what we've seen for the past 1 month or so, or a little bit more than 1 month, until basically now, when Bitcoin seems to be trying to break out again and move up for another leg. So if this ETF goes ahead this week and it doesn't dump right after, if it continues running, I think there's a good chance that altcoins get pressured against BTC, that the whole focus, the whole conversation, everything is about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going up, and people can't really calculate percent, so they just see Bitcoin is up $2,000, Bitcoin is up $3,000, and my altcoin is only up $3, and that's for some reason the way it works. So then people will panic sell their alts because it seems like Bitcoin is going up more, and then that kind of fuels that cycle. So when Bitcoin is really running up in price, that's usually not the best time for altcoins. So if we get another trend starting here at some point, then I will probably not have so much altcoin exposure. But then Bitcoin is going to pause at a high level, and then Bitcoin seems boring again. Everyone wants more gains. They have newly made money. They are very risk willing, and they're going to jump into these altcoins, and they are going to go up insane percentages, as we have seen for a while. But I think that if we get a real ETF rally continuing here, it could put some pressure on altcoins, actually.
Yeah, and I think as well, one of the things I'm fascinated about is the technological change that's happening. Everything is happening way faster. You cannot realize the pace of technological advancement, everybody. Literally, AI will advance 1,600 times over the next 2 years. This is what people can't wrap their heads around. There will be robots running around in factories taking jobs. That's just going to happen. And then software, technology, blockchain is going to advance terribly fast. If you are old and slow today, you're probably dead. And we're seeing that already happen with things like Polygon and many other chains. Money is leaving those chains. Grayscale is selling Matic and they're buying other stuff, which is even worse. But that's just Grayscale. You have Ethereum is just bleeding to other newer alts. The world is changing. So you can't look at GA, as far as I'm concerned, alts as a category and swap them into Bitcoin. You got to be very selective. You got to excise the winner and then stay on that winner. And I did an analysis yesterday, which is a question on the Q&A, which would outperform Bitcoin or Solana over the next year. And Solana won, but there is a case where Bitcoin, because of its scarcity, if a huge amount of money comes into that ETF, Bitcoin could thrash Solana. Either way, the way I play it is kind of like Ivan. I stay in both, and it's very difficult to time things. Sometimes you can time things to the minute, but it's very difficult to time kind of these types of macro moves. That's kind of my thing. And then Margie K, final question. Can you share the ETF Wars fee slide on Patreon? Yes, I'll share all these slides on Patreon later. So any final thoughts, you guys? Looks like Bitcoin at 45K is a area of resistance, and it struggled there a couple of weeks ago as well. Any final thoughts for the community here? And thank you all for coming. We have nearly 4,000 people. I think you broke 4,000 last week, Ivan.
Yes. I mean, the viewership is hitting all-time highs. So big shout out to all of you guys who are watching. We appreciate all the attention. Very, very thankful for that. And you make it fun as well. I mean, it's fun to do streams when so many people are watching. And thanks to you, James, for hosting this time. But yeah, no more thoughts. We will see what happens this week. Zoom out. It looks great on the weekly. It's going to be shaky on the 15-minute chart. I know many people, they freak out. They see something happens on the 15-minute chart. They think the world is already... Don't look at 15-minute chart. Zoom out. Look at weekly chart. You see, it's a beautiful ascending triangle that breaks the upside with the target of 48K. That's what I'm personally looking forward to. And thanks for another one, gents.
My pleasure.
Absolutely.
And next week we're on CTO's channel, by the way. So
Exactly.
yeah.
And I mean, there will be some uncertainty what will happen here. No one knows for sure, but think in scenarios, guys. That's a very helpful model. You can, ready yourself for 2 or 3 scenarios. So you've thought in advance what you're going to do if that happens. That's to avoid feeling paralyzed when price runs up and then finally capitulating and buying exactly on the local high. And then hope that it continues. Then it doesn't. Then you panic and you hold it down and it's backed up a lot and it feels like, oh no, I made such a big mistake, I should sell. And then you sell and that was a local bottom and then it runs back up again. So the way to avoid this is to plan ahead instead. Make a plan today. What will I do if this happens? What will I do if that happens? What will I do if the scenario 3 will happen? Write it on a piece of paper or something, or have a plan. And then you just see, it's my scenario 2 playing out. Then I was going to do like this. And then you just press the button and you don't overthink it again because it's difficult to buy after price has gone down and so on. So that would be my final tip. Plan ahead a little bit because I think it could be a volatile next couple of weeks. So,
that is so well said. Don't believe what you read. Don't have emotions. Have a plan. I think that's the big message today. Thank you, CTO. Thank you, Ivan. Next Monday, we're over on CTO's channel. Don't forget to subscribe to these gentlemen. Thank you so much, everybody. Happy Monday. It's going to be an exciting week. Oh, final question. Over, under, that Wednesday, the ETF will be approved. Okay? What do you think? 80%, 90%? Ivan?
Oh, you mean the probability of approval? I think it's 95% at this point.
Yeah, I do too.
Always 5% chance, but I mean, it's that's my bet anyway.
CTO?
Let's see what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I think it will be approved. That's my guess also.
Wednesday.
Of course, I don't have any other insights than any of you. I'm just, guessing here, but that's my guess.
Let's say Wednesday, 95%, yes.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, gentlemen, have a great week. See you all Monday. Thank you for everything.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.